Hey guys, out in the shopping end tonight doing a little bit of work on my hollow ground version of my Spear Point Hunter design, and I just wanted to give a quick update on where this is at as well as what I plan on doing here. And as you can see, I did get most of the scale polished off, and I went ahead and took it down to a 220 grit satin finish with a J-Flex belt, which seems to be my preferred belt of choice as far as finishing here as of late. Seems to give it a nice polish while maintaining a nice satin finish and really making that blade pop. Now, as far as the handle scale material, on this one I decided to use some green canvas micarta that I had on hand. I ordered this from usa-knifemaker.com a while back, and I just wanted to try something new. I'm always looking at new handle materials, just trying to see which ones I like best and see how they work out. And already I could tell that this micarta in particular seems quite a bit harder. It's harder to finish, harder to drill, as well as harder to route on the ends here than the G10 and micarta that I've used in the past. I don't know if it has something to do with the material it's made of, or maybe the resins that it's impregnated with. But I definitely notice a lot more resistance when it comes to shaping, sanding, and drilling. So hopefully that won't burn through too many belts, and hopefully I can get a nice finish on this when it's all said and done. But as for where we're at right now, I've just basically prepped the handle as far as I'm going to before I apply the epoxy. I went ahead and fit my Corby rivets as well as my lanyard tube in place just to make sure those go in nicely. And I also went ahead and prepped the ends with a 1/4 inch round over router bit, which I like to do simply to kind of pre-profile that edge so I don't have to get too close to the ricasso when I'm profiling the handle, and I don't have to do as much work finishing that end there. It gives it kind of a much cleaner look than I could do just by sanding it, and really helps me on this finished end where I don't really want to spend too much time sanding around the ricasso and possibly accidentally cutting into it with a belt or other things. So it's just kind of a little bit of forethought there, a little bit of safety just as far as keeping that ricasso clean, as well as getting a good profile on that end. As for the rest of the handle, I really haven't done anything to it. Just going to glue it as is, and then go ahead and flush everything up with my belt sander and then start profiling. Now, one thing I will do before I start spreading epoxy everywhere is I'm going to mark the end of the handle here with a pencil just to know where I want to stop with my epoxy. And then I'm also going to tape the majority of this blade as close as I can get to the handle scales as well. And that's going to do a couple of things for me. That's going to keep me from accidentally smearing epoxy all over the blade itself. And it'll also help ensure against scratching the blade up while I'm clamping things together and kind of moving it around on my workbench. So I think we're getting pretty close to being able to do that. I'm just going to take my hardware out, mark the blade as I stated, and go ahead and get it taped up. And then I can start mixing epoxy. And I do like to apply it first to the steel itself and then just a little bit to the inside of the handle scales, which I'll probably rough up with a sander just to make sure the epoxy adheres better. And then we can put all the pieces together, put my Corby bolts in, or my rivets rather, tighten everything up, and then put some clamps on just to make sure we have an even distribution of pressure and glue. And another thing I like to do, I like to smear just a little bit of epoxy inside these Corby bolts as they don't have lock washers in them. I know some that I've gotten do have those, these did not, so that epoxy will help kind of ensure that these stay together. Even though with the epoxy everywhere else in the handle, they probably would never back out anyway. But it's just kind of an extra safety factor again. And that's really all there is to epoxying the handle scales on. You let that set up good, and then you can flush everything up and start profiling. One thing you do kind of want to keep in mind I'll just go ahead and mention this. When you are grinding your Corby rivets and your lanyard tubes flush, make sure you're dipping it in your water, not heating it up too much, as that will loosen any epoxy up around that area and heat up the rest of the knife blade. Also, it might potentially discolor your hardware, which you really don't want to do if you can help it. So that's just an added security measure I like to take as well. And just to show you where we're at with the profiling, very happy with how this one's coming out. Got some nice even hollow grinds that go pretty deep. So we got a nice thin blade there, should be a good cutter. And I also did a little bit more work on the swedge there, where I had previously kind of made this a concave swedge with my 8-inch contact wheel. I decided to go ahead and convex it actually, and kind of rounded that off and gave it quite a bit of a different look that I like much better than the concave swedge. So really happy with how that's coming out. I might take that point down just a little bit more just to even that point out. And once the handles are in place, we'll be ready to sharpen and try this bad boy out. So I'm going to go ahead and prep this further for the epoxy, get everything clamped up, and I think we're going to call it a night. So that's just a quick update on the hollow ground Spearpoint Hunter. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you later.